Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. If you're just stopping through for the first time, or if you've come through several times, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you're so inclined, if you'd hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, it would really help me out. And I want to say thank you to all the channel members. Thank you all so much. And today, what I was going to do is go through and look at the bar locks that are kind of the favorites in my collection, right? I mean, I know that there's a lot of, what would I say, a lot of people don't love the bar lock from an action standpoint. Understandably, it's a different type of lock. To me, it's more of a robust lock. First started by Benchmade with the axis lock, and then when their patent or whatever ran out, you see more and more of these crossbar style bar locks in a lot of different knives, right? And they have a lot of positions in my collection. I've got a lot of knives from this little nightshade from Vosteed, which is freaking fantastic, to a couple of Benchmades, to my Sig Sauer. They all have axis style bar locks. But today I wanted to talk about the top 5 in my collection, which is purely subjective, but that make up my 5 top bar lock knives, or crossbar style locks, or whatever you want to call this lock here. But starting with number 5 is the Ritter Hogue. The Ritter Hogue to me is a fantastic knife. It's got very beefy springs in the action, and it's got a really well done, well milled little actuator here for the bar lock. So whether you thumb flick the knife off the studs or you like to reverse flick it, it's got a little bit of kick coming off of that detent, off those springs, and then when you pull them and let the knife swing home, it'll close up on you. It's not one that has to be fidgeted with. I'm horizontal, guys, but it doesn't have to be tweaked out. It stays centered up for me. It's a great size knife. It's the same size as the Benchmade Griptilian. As y'all know, Doug Ritter had a big part in designing the Griptilian, and when he parted ways with Benchmade, he started working with Hogue to do this Ritter Hogue RSK1, I think it's called. That's wrong, MK1. I've got their name wrong. But anyway, this is Doug's knife. All proceeds go to help Doug, who is also the main man at kniferights.org. He makes that happen. That is his gig. So when you get a Ritter Hogue, one of these knives or a mini, you're supporting Doug, you're supporting the cause, and it's a great knife. So this is my number 5 top axis style lock in my collection, the Ritter Hogue RSK1, I think it's called. Brings me to number 4. Number 4 is my Tuya Big Belly. This knife was a big surprise. This knife is an older knife in my collection. The only downside to this knife is it's hard for me to reverse flick because the thumb studs sit so close to those scales. However, it actuates with the thumb studs perfectly. And if I could train my finger to get on top of that thumb stud, I could probably get it to reverse flick. I can, but it's just not comfortable. It's much easier to reach down, thumb flick it. It's got great snap. The detent's so tight. That's one of the reasons it's hard to flick it out. You've got some nice milling on the studs there. A really well done knife, very slicey knife. You pull the crossbar lock and it just falls home. Let's do a little slicey with this. I should have cut with the Hogue. We'll cut with the Hogue too, just so we don't leave it out. But the Big Belly, the Tuya Big Belly, is set up with that big belly, that flat M390 ground blade. It is a carbon fiber unibody construction, which means that this whole carbon fiber is milled out there. It's not screwed together, so it's monoblock, however you want to call that. And then you've got the steel plates to allow that crossbar lock and those axis springs to be mounted on. But it is just an absolute banger, and it comes in at number 4. So going back to number 5, this, if I'm not mistaken, is 20 CV, and it's surgically sharp. The Hogue is a great EDC knife. It's a great carry style, size. It's very, very tough. And again, very, very slicey. So that is number 5. We looked at number 4, which was the Tuya Big Belly. Come to number 3. It's the only Benchmade on my list, but it is one of my favorites. It's an OG Benchmade. This is the Benchmade Mini Locos. It is an axis lock with a hole for deployment. It's got a really beefy axis lock, one of the thicker ones. Has great lockup, has really nice milling around that axis lock, and it slams closed. It's a beefy knife, feels great in the hand. Probably one of the most bruiser knives, Benchmades, that I have. I would say this is thicker than the Mini Adamas, but just as slicey as you'll want. You know, S30V, this is a first production run. Don't know what that means, but I picked it up at St. Nick's Knives here in Huntsville. I don't know what that says under there. Under the S30V, it says something. I'm gonna have to break out my I'll tell you what, guys, curiosity is killing me, so we will learn together. I will break out my little titanium magnifying glass. It says Benchmade CPM patent, Benchmade.com PAT. And then under there, it says 933 out of 1,000. So I guess that was the number of the run. And again, I can't really tell. Benchmade.com/PAT. So maybe, I don't know if that's a dead link, but it's got some kind of URL there on the blade. So anyway, I hadn't even noticed that before. But this is the Benchmade Mini Locos. Has a great G10 handle, super cool pivot, which matches the thumb studs and the bar lock studs. You've got this nice brushed satin blade with this finger hole and this really cool ergonomic grip. This is a winner. Comes in at number 3. My favorite bar lock style knives, and that is the Benchmade Mini Locos. So moving on, we come to number 2. Guys, this is an absolute winner. The best detent of the bunch. This is the Vosteed Dachshund. It is a front flipper with thumb studs. And I don't know how they did it, but the detent is absolutely dialed in on this knife. This knife should be number 1. Number 1 just happens to be one of my absolute favorites. But this is the Dachshund from Vosteed. It is a therapeutic slicer like nobody else. The blade design, I love it. It's such a utilitarian type blade. It's so useful. You got this flat ground, really clean look, titanium handles, M390 blade. You've got this bar style lock set into those titanium scales. And I mean, you pull the lock back and it drops. It closes up. It flies out with just fantastic detent. Has a nice sharpening choil. Very comfortable in hand. I'm not a front flipper guy, as y'all know, but this one works very well, even though I just failed it under the camera. It works very well in different types of flicks, and I'm not a front flicker guy, but the thumb studs are money, the lockup on it's money, and the axis lock is as smooth as any I've seen. I would say out of this top 5, the axis style lock or the bar lock, crossbar lock on the Vosteed Dachshund is the best one in my collection if we're talking just action. Nothing beats it. It is banging. Moving on, we come to my number 1 axis style lock, which is a TRM, and they call it the River Lock. This is the TRM OG Shadow. I say OG because they've got the titanium shadow now. They've done some different red micartas. They've done some others. This is a G10 20 CV pocket knife made by my favorite USA knife company, and the Shadow is absolutely a slicer's dream. It has fantastic ergos, fits my hand perfectly, has a choil that just puts my finger right up by that blade. The River Lock, you've got these really nice stair-stepped bars, super nice inset captive pivot. Pull that, it just slams home. Thumb studs work very well. Reverse flick is money. And it is probably as slicey, therapeutically, as any in the group too. So it is, that was me failing it. But that is the TRM Shadow. It is my number 1 because I love this knife so much. And it happens to be a bar style lock, river lock. But the TRM Shadow comes in at number 1. Number 2, we have the Vosteed Dachshund with the best action in the group. Number 3, we had the Benchmade Mini Locos, I believe. And then we had our Tuya Big Belly was number 4. And if I'm not mistaken, our Ritter Hogue was number 5. And our B Up is right here in the corner, thanks to brother Joe Isabella. And that is Javon's top 5 bar style, axis style, crossbar style, whatever we want to call those locks that typically don't have detent. This one has fantastic detent, but that lock up very securely, work very well, and are very utilitarian. So that is my top 5. Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by, for checking out the video. All I ever ask is please, please, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Please go forward with love in your heart. And please choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.